Welcome to Business Briefs, where we indulge in bite-sized business and legal tips for your business and to help you level up. Today, we have the extremely talented Dr. Bonnie Hubert as our guest. We were just discussing on how she has rebranded. Her business is now Dr. Bonnie. Dr. Bonnie I've had a chance to become friends with her and get to know her a little bit more. And I've really enjoyed everything that she has to share. And I'm really excited about all the things that she's going to be sharing with us today. But before we begin, Dr. Bonnie, could you actually give us an introduction and tell us your 60-second elevator pitch?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Bonnie, and I am a life and business coach for high drive women. I help women who are overworked, overwhelmed, and just at their wits' end with life or with their business. I help them to calm the chaos, to think better so they can live better. And really, that's what it's all about. When we think better, we live better. So I enjoy helping women of all ages. And I do that with one-on-one counseling. I'm also a licensed professional counselor, so counseling, coaching, and I have a Facebook group called High Drive Moms where I serve over 2,000 women every single week. I'm also an author and a speaker.
I was just going to say, I'm like, you're also an author, you're a speaker. There's so many, accolades behind you. And what I wanted to ask you is that how did you even get into this space? How did you see the need for this?
So, like maybe many of your listeners, I am an ambitious woman and I've always wanted to work. I watched my mom as a working professional as I grew up, and I loved the excitement that she experienced in her daily life by just meeting people. And she was also a counselor and doing various presentations and educational type of things. And I went with her and I learned from her. And I knew really at a young age, I wanted to be an educator of some kind. I saw what an impact that she had. And also, I think I have two other aunts that were educators. And I just thought, that's where I'm going to start. So I started as a teacher. And I worked as a bilingual third and fourth grade teacher for 5 years. And while I did that, I went back to school and got my counseling degree. And I always knew I wanted to do counseling, got in there, went for it. My last little stint as it was a big stint as a counselor was with Conroe ISD. I was their crisis intervention counselor. Wow. So I had a pretty heavy load, heavy as in the number of referrals and the response that I was needing to give, but also the heaviness of the issues that I was helping families to confront. And so after that, I kind of went, oh my gosh, I don't want to answer the phone for any more crisis anymore. So I went back to school. I got my doctorate degree in educational leadership. And I started working for a company where I was able to educate and facilitate trainings for other professionals in education and counseling through the teaching of a resilience curriculum. So I did that until COVID. And then when COVID happened, like us all, we're not traveling, not doing, live presentations or anything. So I really had to think about what I wanted to do, how to pivot. And I knew that I didn't want to go down into the depths with people anymore for counseling. But yet I still wanted to counsel and coach. And that's when I launched my life coaching practice back in 2018. And the rest is history, as they say. So.
Wow. I mean, you definitely have a lot of experience, and I can't even imagine the crisis intervention that you had to manage, but then also the energies that you were taking in, alongside being someone who's trying to give away the positive energies as well. But this area that you've come into where you're, helping high-powered and motivated women, where did you find this need? Like, where did you see this need? There's so many other ways that you could be helping and coaching. How did you find this particular need?
This came because I want to be for women what I needed. And as a young mom, I have 4 children. So when I was having my children and working, I often felt isolated in certain circles, social circles or religious circles where a lot of women were staying home with their kids. And I was more ambitious in the way of, seeking and learning and growing professionally. And I felt like I really didn't have a support system
Mm.
to be able to talk about like all the stuff I was struggling with. And y'all, I actually almost felt guilty for being so ambitious. I don't know if you've ever experienced that.
You're exactly right. I have been in many rooms a lot of times where I'm amongst not necessarily the peers I went to school with, like law school, because I feel like we're all the same at the end of the day, but like, just other family circles or friend circles. And sometimes I feel like, why are you not thinking this way? And, I feel like I motivate too much. And sometimes that's taken as too like somebody who's too much for that space. Like they all get overwhelmed with my ideas and my thoughts. And so I have to hold myself back. It's a really weird feeling because I don't feel guilty, but I feel like I feel bad. I don't know. It's like the funniest feeling. I can't put my finger on it, but it's not positive.
Well, and why shouldn't it be positive, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of, again, why you asked back to the question, why did you feel a need for this space? And that's what it is that I know women who are just like us in that our minds are going, we have great amounts of energy and enthusiasm. And even the word ambition is almost a negative type of word. But what is wrong with ambition? Like what is wrong? There's nothing wrong with that. So I think there's women that are just made differently. We're all made differently. And some women are very like chill and low key, and they want to stay home and have a garden and take their kids to play dates. Y'all, that is not me, never has been me. I don't know how else to explain it, but I know there are other women out there just that have that same mindset of, I want to have it all and I can have it all. There's no reason why we can't have it all. Like we can raise a family and be great moms and great partners, and we can find success professionally. And for so long, I felt alone in that. Like there was something wrong with me. Like you said, like I would sit down at a table with some women and start talking about, in fact, this just happened to me last week. A friend of mine who used to be a neighbor, and she and I used to walk on every Wednesday. And then she moved. So now it's like we walk once every 2 or 3 months on a Wednesday. And I noticed she's like, okay, catch me up. What's going on? I did the same for her. In fact, I asked her first, which a lot of times women like us, we have so much to talk about. I always want to listen to someone else first, always. And so after I heard everything that was going on with her, I started to tell her about what was going on in my life right now, about, I call them life theaters. So theaters of life that we're performing on a stage, right? So maybe family, professional, social, self-development, different things that are going on. So I started to talk, and I'm like, well, and I started talking first about my son, Kyle. Kyle is doing amazing in baseball. He hit 2 home runs in 1 game. I mean, I was like, mind blown. And I'm telling her about this. I promised him a pair of shoes for every home run he hits. I'm in trouble, so I'm talking about that. And then I started talking about this coaching group that I started. I launched it just a few weeks ago, and it's called Working Mom Master Plan. And I started talking to her about that, and I'm like, oh, excited about it and telling her everything that's going on. And I can just see her eyes just like glazing over, and we're walking and she's just looking at me. And all of a sudden, I feel like I need to diminish myself.
Yes.
I feel like I need to diminish myself. And I'm just like,
oh my gosh.
Okay. And then I could have continued. I could have talked to her about my real estate investing that we're doing. And I just got a new property. I'm so excited because I get to go shop and like deck it out. And I love that. And then creating and decorating.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I needed to stop talking, and I really couldn't be my authentic self.
Yes.
And y'all, that there's something wrong with that. It's not a competition, right? It's not a competition between women when we're talking who has the most accomplished kids or who's the most accomplished, in their business or their life. But sometimes when I speak, I feel like that's happening, and I never want that to happen. But at the same time, I got to be myself. And so I created the High Drive Moms group so that we can all like just be awesome, celebrate each other, like not, talk about some of the funny things that happen. Like I always have like a humorous post on Friday that's kind of like working mom stuff that goes on that we would only get, and that's really why I created the group and even the Working Mom Master Plan, because my group right now is filled with women that do a lot of things and they feel bad about it. They feel bad about it. I don't believe, now, of course, I do have one in there that has like literally 10 things she's doing at the same time. That's a little bit of overkill. I think 3, family, professional, and one other one that's going on is enough, right? It's enough. But here's the thing is that we sometimes feel like if we don't do it all right now, it's not important or it's not going to get done. And I like to use these 3 words to help women to understand that you can do it all and have it all. It doesn't mean you're going to have it all right now. So what I look at, and this is the strategy that your listeners can use here, is that when you're looking at your weekly schedule or your monthly schedule or what you have going on, you think about 3 Ds. One is what needs to be your direct focus right now? What do you have to have your hands on or be supervising or whatever? That is something that goes on your schedule, right? The second is delegate. Delegate is what do I have here that I can delegate, that I can take off my plate and hand to someone else. There's a lady in my group, and she was talking about this. She said after going through the group, she has now delegated certain household tasks to her sons. They're 17 and 12, I think. And she had been doing all of this stuff in the house along with working full time and all of this other stuff. They even have a housekeeper that comes every 2 weeks, but she was taking the load of everything. And she said, I have delegated it to my sons, and they're going to learn these life skills that they need anyway, right? Something so simple, you would think that we would think to do that.
Right.
But as women, as mothers, we don't always do that. So delegate. So direct focus, delegate. And then actually there's 2 more. One is delay. So delay meaning I would love to serve. I want to be on this committee. I want to do this. I want to do that. But maybe, just maybe right now, I can't and be sane and still feel peace every day. I need to delay that a minute, right? And then the last one is delete. So what can you look at and say, I really need to delete this for now, right? I need to pause. I need to take a pause. And a story that goes along with that is I had a client, she owns a CrossFit gym. She's a real estate agent. She's in Toastmasters. She has 5 children. She serves in her church. That was like 5 big things. And then she was adding on, they go to a private school. So the administrator was looking for parents to come in and work as substitutes because they couldn't find subs. So she was then like raising her hand that she would substitute for an entire day once a week.
Yeah.
Okay. You can see where I'm going with this, right? Dynamic, energetic, amazing woman. And so one day I remember I was working with her, and one day she called me up and she's like, oh my gosh, I am so excited. I have to share this with you. I said, what happened? She goes, I used the D word. I said, which D word? She said, delete. I told the administrator, I'm sorry, I have to let you know I can no longer sub. I really wish I could.
Yeah.
Maybe once in a great while, but I'm sorry, I'm going to have to bow out from this. And she said, at first I felt like it was going to be like tension, or I was going to feel bad. But she said, I felt the weight of the world just lift off my shoulders. And I deleted something. Anyway, direct focus, delegate, delay, delete. D words.
Gosh. I absolutely love that, because I think just kind of going back to what we were talking about, we're highly driven. There's a lot that we're doing. So there's a lot that we can talk about. And it's not just only accomplishments. I did this, I did this, I did this, but it's also just about the stories behind it, or the things that are happening and how this happened, that happened. But there's a lot to share because there's a lot going on as well. I've seen myself also diminish myself or just hold myself back because I'm like, I'm just taking up too much airspace right now. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to hold myself back. But more than anything, I think what you are talking about truly speaks to that person who is trying to do too much. And because that is just their personality and they want to do it. And I'm that person. I'm like, let me do this, let me do this, let me do this. I can do it. I got it. I'll figure it out. I'll help you. And then it becomes overwhelmed here. So physically, I can do it. I can plan it out. I can organize my schedule, and that's really been super helpful and being committed to it. But having this tool belt of the 4Ds, direct focus and delay, delegate, and delete, it's so important because it helps you also to say no when you need to say no. And it's hard because I don't know if someone like me was to come to you and say, listen, I am going nuts. How do I bring myself outside the 4Ds? How do I calm myself down? Like, how do I make myself feel less overwhelmed so I can start thinking straight?
I would have
do you walk
two
them?
suggestions for that. The very first one, and it is something that I am very passionate about and I practice in my life, is a journaling practice. So for women like us that have so much going on here, it lives here.
Yeah.
We need a place to create space. We need to release everything that's going on. So I'm telling you, just taking your hand across the page, not dear diary, or I have a specific prompt I'm going to respond to. No, it is literally like free form thinking. Well, today my mind is a jumbled mess. I'm thinking about the this I'm planning, the that I'm planning, and my daughter that's going to have it. It's just like 15 minutes.
Right.
As often as you can. What happens is incredible. For me, it's almost a spiritual practice because I release thoughts, emotions, things that are swimming around in there. I sometimes have incredible insight that flows to me during the time that I'm writing. I feel closer to God when I'm writing. I think it's so incredible. That would be the one thing, because to release what's happening here, I have created programs through my journaling, ideas come. It's incredible what happens. The second one is actually more D words. And in my book, I actually have a whole chapter of D words. And that is 2 more D words, which is decide and design. So when you are ready to say, I'm overwhelmed or overworked, or I'm feeling like I want to learn how to let go of all of the things that are kind of trapping me in my own thoughts, you have to decide that you're going to do something different. Once you decide that, it's time to design what that might be. And you can do that yourself through programs like Trello. I know you know about Trello, right? Trello is a great tool. I actually use that with my clients in something that I call my master plan board. And it's each one of those theaters. It's allowing a place. Imagine like a big poster board with sticky notes. Like in my professional theater, I want to create a course. I want to speak 3 times this year. I want to Well, all that comes out of my brain and goes onto a board in Trello. So I know it's there and I can access it anytime when I have an idea for something. So whether it's Trello, Asana, any kind of a project management system that's simple. We're not using it like we're at a corporation working on a team, although you could if you're, but it is like getting it out and designing what your priorities are going to be. And then the last thing I would say is an accountability partner. So don't go asking your husband or your partner or whatever. No, you won't listen to them when the time comes. Okay. It's just like if you say, okay, don't let me eat ice cream for 3 months. And then when you reach for the ice cream and they say something, you're mad at them. Right? No, that doesn't work. It's literally having, and that's why coaches are so, I guess, more common now, is that people are realizing that if I have someone that I'm going to report what I've done or report how I'm doing to, it's just psychology. You're going to perform better. You're going to be more diligent. You're going to be more consistent. And so that is what I would suggest for someone who's like ready and wanting to kind of organize it all. Decide first, design how that's going to work for you, and add some measure of accountability, whether it's a coach or a friend or a family member that you know that you'll listen to.
Yes.
And that they won't be afraid to like hold you to what you say. I think those have been the most powerful things that I've seen that people will go through and actually then stick to or create new habits.
Great tips. Yeah. So, journaling is something I truly hold close to my heart also. Now, there are days where you just don't feel like it, and that's okay too. But when you are feeling overwhelmed and all, then give yourself some space and time to do that. So I definitely agree with you. So, Dr. Bonnie, before I even ask you, how do we connect with you? I do want to ask you a couple more questions. Number one, have you had any legal things that have popped up and you're like, oh man, I wish I'd done that beforehand?
Yes, I actually need to visit with you because I would love for someone to look over my contract. So I had a contract with someone, they signed it. And then part of coaching really is about when you enter a coaching relationship with someone. For me, I don't allow that to go on for like, okay, you have a year to use the coaching hours or package or however it works for people. We have 4 months, right? 4 months. And the reason for that is that everyone's real excited and gung ho at the beginning. And then when you get into the nitty gritty, it's not so shiny and pretty and new.
Yeah.
It really changes from, okay, are you ready to move from default to deliberate and stay there? Or are you going to go back to where you were?
Default to deliberate. Wow. Okay.
2 more G words. Did you catch that? Anyway, so I had a client and she signed up in June, and then she was really great for about the first 3 to 4 weeks. And then after that, it was like, hey, I need to reschedule. My daughter's super busy. We're going to be here. Okay, no problem. Just reschedule on the calendar. No problem. That turned into another one rescheduling because of the vacation. That one turned into. And
Right.
so pretty, like, we're then past the, we've been 2 months without having an appointment.
Oh, wow.
And she goes, you know what? I've just been rethinking this. And I actually think that, maybe I would like to bow out and just get a refund for the amount of coaching that I haven't done yet. I just don't, I think I'm too busy and I just can't commit to this. And so I went back and I was like, oh boy, what does my contract say?
Yeah.
What does my contract say? Luckily, I had in there that you had 1 month to request a refund or for the balance of the remainder or something like that. It was 1 month. But it made me think like, oh my goodness, what could there be other holes in my contract with my clients? Are there things I'm not thinking of? Or, like, should it be a month? Or maybe it should be 2 weeks. Maybe it should be after 2 sessions together. Yeah. And so anyway, that just happened to me in January.
Oh my.
So
okay. This is pretty fresh.
What I told her was, no, I would not issue her a refund, but we could continue on. Even though it had been farther than the 4 months, it had been longer than the 4 months. I told her that I would reinitiate it and we would start and we would meet every other week. We had 8 more coaching calls to go. And I said I would do it. And she agreed. So it was actually amicable. I just finished my last session with her yesterday.
Okay.
And
nice.
and it was happy. We talked about it and everything. But it kind of like, oh my gosh, she asked for a refund. That's a lot of money. Like, I don't want to issue a refund, and it just made me go, oh, so I need to get with you to look at the contracts that I have in place, and
Absolutely.
I'm starting for the group I just launched and some other things.
Yeah. Well, I'm here for that, but thanks for sharing that, because truly that's such a common thing, is where people, they have buyer's remorse, but then their buyer's remorse like shows up way late in the game. And then you're just like, okay, what am I supposed to do right now? And I'm always like, there's a fine line between showing goodwill, having good customer satisfaction and, customer experience, versus somebody who you're just allowing them to take advantage of the whole situation. And I think what you did is great. A lot of times just those conversations that are hard and uncomfortable can turn into amicable resolutions, which is also absolutely lovely. But yes, definitely need to revisit those, and I'm here for that. Now, also when things are going a little nuts, because we all have that, just, even if as a coach or as, somebody who helps people with their legal stuff, things happen and we may not be 100% every single day. What anchors you? What holds you steady?
That's a great question. The first thing that popped into my mind when you just said anchors me and holds me steady was the relationship that I have with my husband. We've been married 26 years, and he, along with God, I think,
Yeah.
just having a connection, a spiritual connection with God, that is my anchor. And the amazingness of the relationship, a love relationship that I have with him. He's my best friend, and also with God, and just knowing that I am a daughter of a loving Heavenly Father, and that He has so many ways to bless me in my life if I come to Him and ask Him for help. And I think those are the two things I would say are my anchors.
Awesome. Thank you. I think it's so important because we all need something, and sometimes we forget that. And so it's really important that's why I love asking this question, because I think it's just something we all need it. If we don't have it, then you figure it out. What is your anchor? So thank you so much, Dr. Bonnie, for joining us. How can we connect with you? I'm going to put everything in the notes and like links as well, but just how do we connect with you? Where do we find you?
I think the easiest way to find me is just to go to my website, bonniehubert.com. And I have all of my info. There's how to work with me is there. And then there's a way that you can get in touch with me through the website, or you can email me at bonniehubert.com.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much. All the links will be there, and the link to your book as well will be there too.
Yes.
And well, thank you. It was such a joy to speak to you today.
Thanks so much, Girija. I appreciate it.